Yeah.
Hey guys, welcome back to the channel with another movie review. This is the second one I've done in like a month, so that's kind of crazy. But here with us today we have, you might recognize him from the channel, but we have Zach with us today.
How's it going, guys?
Thanks for joining me today, Zach.
Thanks for having me on.
Of course. And today we will be reviewing the Kenneth Branagh film, which could be considered to be one of the frontrunners for Best Picture at this upcoming Academy Awards, which is Belfast. And I was very excited about this movie. I saw the trailers, and obviously, you know, the black and white. It's a period piece. You know, the Oscars really love their, you know, films that kind of take place in a certain time and place, and kind of talking about, you know, cinema as an art form, and, you know, just love letters to cinema, all that stuff. Hollywood is in love with themselves. We know this.
Yes.
At this point in time, but you know, I was hearing some people were saying, oh, it's good, but it was a little emotionally disengaging, or, you know, not necessarily living up to the full potential of the standards that were set for it. I mean, if you look at Kenneth Branagh's career as a filmmaker, I haven't seen his early Shakespeare stuff, but everyone says that that's where he truly shined as a filmmaker and as an actor in that case. But, I mean, the past few years he made Thor back in 2011, which or around that, which a lot of people say is good, but, you know, or maybe some of you don't even like it. It's very mixed thoughts on that movie. But also, he made Artemis Fowl last year, which I did not see, but I heard was an absolute dumpster fire to the highest degree. So, you know, going into this movie, he had a lot of expectations to meet, and you know what? I think he met them. I think that this is one of the best movies of the year.
Yeah, this is one of my most favorite movies of the year as well. So far, anyways. Yeah, I mean, just like the cinematography is great. I love the use of color for showing Belfast in the present day, and then kind of like seamlessly switching to black and white during the past when the story actually takes place.
And yeah, I mean, that was so off-putting at first, because it was like, wait, what? Like, isn't this supposed to be in the past? And then they have that pan, which is so brilliant in the beginning, just up, you know, by that wall, and just really setting you back in this time and place almost instantaneously with just a small camera movement. I mean, that's cinema right there, as far as I'm concerned. But yeah, this movie is just, I think, just full of heart, because obviously this is a very personal project for Kenneth Branagh, and I think, you know, to your point about the cinematography, yeah, it's one of the best shot movies of the year, and it isn't necessarily the most flashy, like, let's say, as opposed to the French Dispatch or Dune, which, you know, features so much in the frame at once. I think the thing that's so great about Belfast cinematography is the composition, where they place characters in the frame, in the film, and I just think it's done so well, and just, you know, very artfully, which you would expect from a piece like this, because a lot of people have said this is Kenneth Branagh's Roma, you know, as much as that was about Alfonso Cuarón's childhood and kind of his upbringing, and I don't think it's quite to that level of emotional immersion or anything like that, just as a film in general. I mean, that's one of the best shot movies ever made. So, you know, that's kind of tough competition, but I think it could be considered just as, you know, much as an achievement. And I think a lot of that has to do, besides the fabulous directing and the cinematography, I think it has to do with the cast. I mean, this is one of the best casts of the year. I would be shocked if this didn't get a SAG Ensemble nomination, because everybody's just firing off on all cylinders here, especially Jude Hill, who, you know, this is his first movie that he's really starring in, and he's just so adorable as our lead in the movie Buddy, which is kind of like the fill-in character for Kenneth Branagh in his childhood. But the thing that's so brilliant about his performance, well, also about the film, is that the movie's seen through his eyes, so you have this very tense backdrop, to say the very least, tense.
Yeah.
And you really kind of see it all unfolding through the eyes of a child, which I think is really brilliant, because you aren't supposed to understand why the conflict is existing as a kid, especially. I mean, it makes no sense to begin with why the conflict in the movie that's happening in that historical moment in time. But really, I think seeing it through the eyes of a child kind of highlights the absurdity of the whole situation. But also, he's just so charming. He's just so adorable. I mean, you can't help but not like the kid. And he's just. He isn't annoying at all. He's very smart. Everything about him you can just kind of relate with. You can kind of look back to your own childhood and kind of see your self in him, especially if you're a big fan of theater or film, as Buddy is in the movie. But also, you gotta look at Kieran Hines, who I think will get nominated for Best Supporting Actor. Easily, no doubt. He's just so great as his grandpa in the movie, and he just brings so much charisma and character. It's what you would expect from a loving grandfather, but he's really so much more than that. He brings a lot of emotional gravitas to the film, and really is in some ways the emotional center. But also you have Judi Dench, who plays his wife, and I mean, it's Judi Dench. She's one of the all-time greats, so she's going to turn in a great performance in this. And this is not Shakespeare in Love, where she shows up for 5 minutes and wins an Oscar for no reason. This legitimately is a very fantastic performance, and she has a couple moments of real pathos. And then, of course, you have Jamie Dornan and Catriona Balfe as mom and not pop, but
just mom and dad.
Yeah. The mom and dad characters, and I mean, especially Jamie Dornan after coming off of 50 Shades of Grey. What a career comeback for him, I should say. I mean, this is just incredible what he's able to do here, and it isn't necessarily a showy performance, but you really do feel for the character. But Catriona Balfe, I think, could be the front runner for Best Supporting Actress as far as I'm concerned. You don't really see a whole lot of her at first to indicate that in the movie, but as the movie goes along, she steals some really pivotal scenes.
Oh yeah, especially towards the middle of the movie, where they're running through Belfast when everyone's kind of fighting with each other. There's one scene there where they go into a grocery store. That's probably one of my favorite scenes in the movie.
Yeah, no, I'd have to agree, and definitely one of the most powerful moments acting wise.
Yeah. I also liked kind of how this movie, it kind of get a glimpse of what it's like for a child to want to stay home even with all this crazy stuff going on, as opposed to getting up and going somewhere new where they don't know anyone and they basically have to start all over again.
Yeah, no, it's definitely, being in that situation is definitely a lot tougher to understand as a kid, because that's where you grow up, you're so used to that place. And and speaking of place and time, I mean, this movie just sets you right in the late 1960s, and just the period detail is incredible. And of course you have the songs by the great Van Morrison, who also did the score. And I mean, just, there's some new stuff in there that you might not recognize, but of course you have not too many classics, but you got Jackie Wilson Says I'm in Heaven When You Smile. So many great songs in there. But yeah, so it really captures this moment in time so perfectly, and I really think that I could see this winning Best Picture. I wouldn't be necessarily opposed to it, but yet, I still have to see Licorice Pizza, which I know we're both very, very much excited for. Yeah. But there's definitely quite a few contenders that I haven't seen yet that are going to be on the way. Honestly, I will ask you though, what were some of your problems with the movie? Did you have any?
I'd say I kind of wasn't as invested in the movie towards the beginning. It just took a while for me to start getting, emotionally invested into it.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think the middle for me is when I was kind of all right, where is this going? Where is this going? But I think, and I think you know what scene I'm talking about. There's one scene with Kieran Hines that I think that is the moment the movie starts gaining slowly and continuously so much pathos, and by the end there's just so many moments of sheer poignancy that really just reflect the beauty of human nature and just, you know, life itself, because it really is, you know, despite this conflict that's going on, it's really a celebration about life and the people who raised you, the area you grew up in. And I think it's so great that it never really lost that emotional center, despite everything going on in the film and the internal conflict of that place. But I think that was probably one of my things too, but obviously the end, you know, really has to solidify a movie. It could, you know, tank it if you don't execute it properly. And I don't think this one even comes close to that. The ending of this movie is just brilliant. But I also think that there is one thing, there was a couple scenes where I felt like they were just sort of oddly placed, and there was like something that happened that wasn't really tied back in later, and it just felt like such a strange editing choice. And you know, and then there's a couple moments that are predictable, but you know, like that's par for the course in a lot of movies. So I'm not going to knock it too heavily, but yeah, I mean, what everybody's been saying about this movie is practically dead on. I just think it's such a beautiful time capsule to look at, you know, this time and place, and really a beautiful ode to childhood.
Yeah, I would definitely recommend this movie, checking it out. Like I said before, one of my favorite movies of the year. Definitely worth seeing in theaters.
Well, I mean, on that note, Zach, what would you give this movie out of 10?
I think I would give this movie about an 8.75 out of 10 for me.
Okay, yeah, no, that's pretty good. Yeah, I'm right there with you. I'm going to give it a 9. Just absolutely loved it. I can't wait to watch it. This is a movie that I would love to show my mom and just kind of sit down one night and watch the whole thing. But yeah, guys, thanks for tuning in this review. If you like what you're doing here, you know, comment on the video. You know, tell us what you think about Belfast if you've seen it. Like this video and subscribe to the channel. You know, the more subscribers, the better. You know, really helps me out. And yeah, thank you for watching this. There's going to be more movie reviews coming your way very soon. So, take care, guys. We'll see you later.
See you later, guys.